Hi everybody, my name is Molly Carlson and I'm here to talk to you guys about how to create LibGuides. So because it's already kind of late in the semester, I'm not going to go too much into how you might want to choose a subject for a LibGuide. So we're just going to go right into it. Basically the first part of this will be going about like creating a LibGuide and then configuring the layout before adding content. So it's going to be really just those two parts. And then after that's done, we'll have a little kind of Q&A period where we'll try to answer any questions you may have. Okay, so if you go to simmonsLIS.libguides.com, this should take you to the page where we show all the LibGuides that have been created and published by Simmons students. So if you scroll down to the very end, you should see a little a link saying log into LibApps. This is what you're going to use. If there is anyone listening who has not been able to get into their LibApps account, please let us know and we will either recreate your LibApps account or we'll fix the password for you. So please let us know. So logging into LibApps, you should initially find yourself on this page, and then you can either select this link for LibGuides or go to the drop-down menu. And so this is your LibGuides homepage. So we're just going to walk through the process of creating a LibGuide. So we're just going to start with a brand new one. So we're going to hit Create Guide, and this is the menu you should get. So we don't want to choose any existing layouts because this should be your first LibGuide. So we want to start fresh. And we will focus on the two different layouts in a little bit. So we'll just stick with the system default template, and then we'll enter the name of the LibGuide. In this case, I'm going to do one immigration, and then this is where you can add a short sentence or two about why you created this LibGuide and what your LibGuide will be about. Because you will be working your content in enough depth while creating this LibGuide, you don't necessarily need a description, but it is helpful. So we'll just leave this blank, or actually no, we'll put a short description. And then we want to keep the guide type as general purpose, and we don't want to assign your LibGuide to a group at all. Another thing that's really important is we don't want to create a password for your LibGuide. This is very important because when you publish your LibGuide and hand it into your professor, if you have a password, she will not be able to see it. No one else in your class will be able to see unless they have the password. So we'll just keep the password field blank. We want to keep the guide content at the community level, and so we'll create it. And so this is your sample LibGuide, completely empty. Right now we have the system default layout with the pages showing up as tabs across the top. And we also have this little blurb on the right that shows the little profile you may have made as a librarian. You don't need to have this in, so I'm going to take it out. When you remove any kind of content, this is the menu you will see. That just asks you to confirm that you want to delete the content. And this is very important too, because once you do delete any kind of content, you will not be able to undo this and get it back. So we're just going to click on understand and delete it. And so this is the completely empty layout we have. So the first major decision that you need to make when you have this new layout is what is the base layout you want your LibGuide to show. So this is something we kind of saw in the menu for creating a LibGuide, where if we go to this drop-down menu here with the image icon and we click on Guide Navigation Layout, this is the same menu we see, where we have either the system default tab layout or the side navigation layout. So it's very important that you make this decision very early on, preferably before you've added a lot of content, because if you've added a certain amount of content and you decide, oh, I want to change my layout, then the content you may have added may get shifted in a way that you may not really want, and which you may have to spend some time rearranging. So I've pulled up a couple sample LibGuides to show the different layouts. So here we have the site navigation layout, where you have the tabs a little bit more clearly displayed, and you have two separate columns. This is the main column where you have everything showing for 75% of the page, and you have this little kind of sidebar for 25%, and this is replicated for every single page. So This is a little bit more of a limited option, and so now we'll see the tab layout. So with the tab layout, everything is showing up in one, all the pages are showing up in one horizontal line, and you have the freedom to choose how you want your columns to look. So here we have a 25%, 50%, 25% structure where the central column occupies the central 50% of the page, and you have two sidebar columns, and this is replicated different. This can be replicated differently. So if you really wanted with a tab layout, you can actually choose different column layouts at every single page. This is why the tab layout is definitely a more popular option, allows you a lot of freedom with how you want your pages to be structured. You know, if you have different ideas for different aspects of your topic, this is really great for that. And so here we just see that for you make exercised. So if we go back, this limitation and how you want your columns to be spaced is the most important option. So we're going to stick with the tab layout for now. So here we have, so once you've picked out your specific layout, we want to create some pages. So you create each page by clicking the little plus option, and we're just going to add a couple pages. So here are just some topics that maybe I want to talk about. If you want your, so we have the option of choosing a top level page or a sub page. So we don't necessarily want to create a sub page for the home page, but maybe if you have you know, a certain topic you want to talk about, and then maybe a really important resource or an event that happens that derives from the topic, this is where you choose a sub page. So we're just going to make this a top level page. You're going to just, and then it comes right alongside the home page. So normally there are 3 required pages that every student must have in their LibGuide, and these pages include the home page, where you might include the audience for your LibGuide, what the LibGuide's about, you know, the scope, who might get the most out of this LibGuide. This is where you may also want to talk about institutions you selected in conjunction with your topic. And then the 2 other pages we want to set up would be further resources or next steps, where maybe there are resources you want to include that you didn't get to include with the previous pages that you just want to mention. So we'll make this another top level page, and then we want to have another page for references. And if we look back to the LibGuide on American music, we can see that you don't really have to do a whole lot with these resources as long as you list them properly and you don't leave any out. You can just have them, and that'll be more than enough. So here we have our required pages, and a sample page we'll base a lot of our content on. So if I want to change the layout of this page, so if I want to have 3 columns evenly spaced, or if I want to have 2 columns, I can change the layout here in this drop-down menu. And so here's where we can kind of choose the percentage values for individual columns. So here, maybe I like to replicate the side navigation layout and have 1 column spanning 25% and 1 column spanning the remaining 75%. So I'll choose this. And the column layout will update automatically. So here we still have the same top box and bottom boxes. This really won't change regardless of what column layout you choose, but we will have for like the middle, the midsection of the page, this same layout. And so if we try to add boxes at this point, I'm just going to number them. This is the layout we would get. So here, we can only add 1 top box and 1 bottom box. We can add as many boxes in this section as we want. So this is where I'm going to start working with content, so you guys can see what different types of content will look like. And we're also going to be going back into the sample LibGuides. So here is where I will add, the rich text and HTML type content is the content that you will have to deal with the most. So this is just, this is the type of content you would use for your homepage. For the further references, anytime you want to explain anything supplementary to one of our resources, this is what you would use. So I'm just going to write this in text. And so it said, so this is a rich text / HTML form of content, which means we can add in HTML as well. So if I want to click on this little source button, still take me to how this text will look in HTML form. We can add in, this is where we can add in different links, we can add in different Google fonts, additional scripts. So there's a lot you can do with this, but please keep in mind, as far as customization options go, there is only so much you can do. This is a very rigid platform, and there are options for adding remote scripts. We're not going to explore that too much, but the majority of changes that most students do make are changes made strictly within the box. So I'm just going to see and close this. And so now I'm going to go into options for customizing your LibGuide. So if we go to guide layout and we look at tab and box options, we be taken to this option. So here is where you can add in your own hexadecimal colors if you really want to customize it and get your own colors going, colors that may align more closely with your topic. So if I just want to do a gray, I can just type in that color. And we also have different options for active and inactive backgrounds. So if I want to have maybe a lighter, if I want to do maybe just like a black, and then maybe just keep the gray for an inactive background. This is what I can do, and the same will actually apply to the font, the colors of the font. Typically, this is a less popular option. People just normally change the background colors. Once I've saved this, it's a little bit uglier, but this shows how you can change the color. So whether or not I've clicked on a tab or hovered on a tab, it still shows the same active background. And once I went to a different page, this shows up as inactive. I would as far as color options go, we would recommend sticking to either a black text or a white text and then choosing colors where the text clearly pops. So this would be kind of a poor choice, as because we're using white text, it doesn't show up that well and maybe tough for some people to read. So for anyone who has had an experience with accessibility services, is something you definitely want to keep in mind. But yeah, and so if I want to visit this menu again, you can do this. I can do the same thing with box options. So the box options apply to the not the tabs, but the boxes that that different forms of different types of content can fit under. So here, the author of this LibGuide did a lot differently with tab options and with box options, gave them different colors. And so we can do the same thing here. So here we can change the shade, the border width, and then we can have the different background colors. So if I want to do, a nice yellow, then I can do that. And if I just click save, any boxes I create now, oh, this is the wrong thing. This is background for the content of the box. Okay, so I don't want to do this. So I go back to the box options. I want to delete this and do the header background instead. All right, a little bit of a difference there. So we'll change it. And now, so this shows up as the headers, and any boxes you create at this point, this same color will apply. Once again, if you want to choose a color like this, maybe go with a black text or something that stands out a little bit more clearly. We're just going to keep this because we need to keep going with any content. So at this point, the most common types of content people normally use are rich text or HTML and media and different types of widgets. So this will apply to people who want to add some kind of media, people who want to like clip some documentaries or videos or podcasts or music. There are a lot of different options, and for each one of these options, code is embedded through iframes. And an iframe object is something you don't have to worry about all that much. It's something you have to paste in this field. But iframe objects are what allow these types of media to be encapsulated with LibGuides created in platforms like these. So if I want to add a podcast, then I can definitely do this. This is for the Immigration Weekly podcast. And actually, no, I'm gonna start with a video. It's easier to show it initially. So for anyone looking to add media from YouTube, what you can do is go to YouTube, click share, and then with the resulting options, you want to go to the option on the farthest left and click embed, and this will give you the iframe tag you just need to copy. And if you want to start at a given moment, you have the option as well. So if I want to start at a 30-second mark, I can do that. And so here it does update properly. So I'm going to copy this and paste it back in. And so you want to make sure the entire body of code is copied over, otherwise it won't render properly. And so this is how it would turn up on the LibGuide. So we can't do very much with moving this media object as it is. For anyone who might want to move this like towards the center of the box, our options are a little bit more limited with that. So we kind of have to keep it as it is. But we've got a great video, and so we want to do a little more. We can also add a podcast. So we'll add another media widget, and this will be for the Immigration Weekly podcast. So I want to go to Spotify. I can copy this link over, and this is a link we are going to include on the handout too. It was a little bit tougher to try to find this link that kind of caters to podcasts you can find on Spotify, but I wanted to include this other example. So here we have developer.spotify.com/documentation/widgets/generate play button. So so as long as you can find Spotify documentation in general for developers, it should be easy enough to navigate to this page. So we want to do the same thing where we just paste the link for the podcast, and then we copy the code. So it's also important to note too that in case you want to modify any of these properties, it's usually not the best decision to do that. So if I want to copy the code as it is, this is what it would look like. It adheres to the appropriate width. But if I want to try to change the height, so if I want to make this a little bit bigger, if I try to do that, it's not going to look good. So it's not going to adhere directly to the media being presented. So if I change the height to 280 as opposed to 232, this is the only real difference we get, where we just have this extra block of space, which we don't necessarily want. So I'll change it back. Okay, so now we've got our text, we've got our media. What else do we maybe want to add? So most of you will need to add one or more books. Books that you use for resources, or just the books you want to bring up in your next steps page. So we'll add this too. So this is the menu we get when we want to add a book to the catalog. So it's likely you'll want to create a new book. And so what we'll do is, there's a way to kind of get around adding most of this. So if we go to Amazon, we can either use the ISBN 13 or ISBN 10 numbers. It doesn't really matter which, but if we add this ISBN and then click Get Book Info, we get the title, the author, publication date, the cover art, and a description of this book. So this is something your professors may have already gone over with you, but if you choose to add one or more books this way, you cannot use the description that's automatically given. You'll have to delete this, write your own description. You know, why you choose this book for your LibGuide, what did you get out of it, what parts of the book really helped you, like all of that you really have to make known within your LibGuide itself. So I'm just going to write in, and that's all we need. With the options for the cover art, you can change the size of the art, the image itself. Please keep in mind that depending on the column you choose to add this book to, the size will be affected differently. So let's try going to medium, and we also want to keep this option X and DEDX. Any other option will strip the cover art from the profile. So here we'll click save, and then this is how it looks with basic description. We have everything else kind of lining up against the cover itself. Because this is such a small column, we may want to try editing this to get a smaller size. So let's try change that back. All right, so this is that's what it would look like. So at this point, we're going to look at, I do want to touch on every form of content here, but at the same time, but starting from here, these are all types of content that, well, you may want to consider using. Not a lot of people do. It all depends on what sort of content you believe is best for the topic. So, I mean, starting with the link, if you go back to the HTML section we added, and if we go back to the specific HTML view, we can add a link for anyone who wants to work with HTML. So I'm just going to type in the basic link right here, and then maybe we'll just borrow this page. So it still renders properly as a link. But this may not be something that a lot of people want to bother with. And so if you want to just create a link this way, you select the link option, and then you just enter the name of the link and the URL this way. Makes it a lot easier. You can also add a description of the link if you want, add a little more context, and you can also assign a different thumbnail image for this given link if you want to. So if your LibGuide will possibly include like setting up a podcasting station, for example, this is where you could add images for different pieces of equipment you may want to use, different programs. If you want to just get information out this way, this is what we can use. Here's where you can also select how this the description will be displayed if you want to add one. So if I want to choose the option where we have to hover a specific icon, we can do that. And so here's the link I want to add. If I hover over the I icon, and just a little description header with my description. We can also change this and erase it. But yeah, that's what a link would look like. A lot of other types of content follow the same format where you have a bullet point and you have this sort of space, like sort of padding. So we're going to keep going. For anyone who might want to include sort of articles or studies, let's try to find one. So that's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay, so if we just want a theory of migration, let's go to the actual link. Okay, so if we want to download this, this is the theory of migration. We can add this article this way. So we'll click on the document table content, enter in the name of the article, and then an additional description. And then we'll select file through the attached file field. You go to downloads. It should come up here. Once again, we don't want to add a password to view the article. This is something we want to allow everyone else in our class and our professors to see as much of this LibGuide as possible. And once we click save, you see a little, the same sort of format, a little bullet point PDF icon and a theory of migration. And so we link takes us to this article. For anyone who may be creating a LibGuide on current events where you may benefit from having different news feeds, we can definitely work with that too. So we're going to the RSS feed option. We just need the name and the feed URL. So we just add one for the BBC feed. And I want to copy this link. Oops. And copy this link over. Then we want to choose, 3, 4 items to display, and we'll have the descriptions for each item to display beneath the item title. And this is what it will look like. So you have the same bullet point format, which may not be that attractive, but we have a news feed that you can change depending on your own preferences. So here, this will take you to the BBC article, and we have a little one-sentence description that will show up automatically. This will take you to the website itself, and this will take you to the feed site. This is what the site for RSS feed would look like, just so you know. It's not very attractive, but it's very functional. And then the site itself is right here. And so may be helpful too if you want to include an RSS feed to maybe have that either farther down your page as like a supplementary body of information to look at. But yeah, that's one option. And so if you want to keep going, we can, if there are different LibGuides we saw that related really well to our own topic, we can add those too. You just, as long as you already have an idea of what type of LibGuides you may want to add, you can also choose by the different subject, which really, let's see if I want to do, okay, so it doesn't come up that easily. Okay, so maybe not, this is a mistake. People really don't use subject tags for the LibGuide, so we really, that's not really required for people. So I would say if you want to add in one more LibGuide, just type them in. It's like you'll already know about them. So I'll just add in a few. And this is what they would look like. You can see not just the name of the LibGuide itself, but the author, when it was last updated, and how many views this LibGuide got this year. You can also do a quick poll if you want to see what your readers think about certain parts of the LibGuide, if you just want to get answers on a certain topic. It's very simple. I'm just create a simple one here. It is also possible to have URLs attached to your options. You don't need to do this, so we can just have these 4 choices and save it. And once you have your poll created, you can just start submitting answers, and then you'll automatically get most of the results. And then you can just keep going for as long as you want. You play votes this way. It just resets everything, and you're right back to the poll. And then finally, people really don't use Google searches all that much. I'm gonna try. Well, we'll just see what comes up. So here we just have this little Google icon, and then we can click search, and then you have the standard query. For most scripts, I'm not really going to go that far into this. This isn't really something I've ever seen people use. If you're really tech savvy and you really want to be able to customize the body of your LibGuide as a whole, and you have a whole plan for us, as long as you follow the rules outlined here, you should be able to use a script this way. And it should also be, and your script should also be in the public domain if you want to use one. So that's how you would go about using it. And so yeah, that kind of covers all the different content, all the different types of content you need to use for a LibGuide, and how you'd set one up. At this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open the floor up to questions.